Stylish, yet shallow and repetitive, although you can pet the foxes. As I walk across the battlefield, stabbing the Mongol soldiers struggling to get up after being blown to the ground by my sticky bomb, I can't help thinking, my uncle is going to give me an earful about this. He's the samurai lord overseeing the island of Tsushima, the last stronghold between the Mongol armies and the Japanese mainland, and he bloody hates it when I fight without honour. That said, it's definitely much easier to fight my enemies with a little dishonour, staggering them with throwing knives, ducking out of a fight with a cheeky smoke bomb, or stabbing soldiers in the back while they sleep. Throughout Ghost of Tsushima, you'll be faced with the choice to either fight honourably or use your full set of gear and have a much more fun time. Except it's not, as you'll find, a choice really, as whatever you play, the story doesn't branch your character and will do things in cutscenes that you'll have no control over. So you may as well embrace being an evil, dishonourable ghost. You'll be told off for being a bad samurai, whatever you do. Ghost of Tsushima is set on 13th century Tsushima, as you play as Jin Sakai, the last samurai of his clan. Following a failed assault on the Mongol forces landing on the island's beaches, you're one of the last Japanese warriors standing between the invaders and the Japanese mainland. Making matters worse, your uncle has been taken captive by the Mongols' leader, and you'll need to rescue him before taking the fight to the rest of his armies. Combat is certainly where Ghost of Tsushima stands out from the open world crowd. The katana you start the game with is the weapon you end the game with. While you can upgrade your sword, increasing its damage, your focus is mastering this one blade over learning how to use lots of different weapon types. Over the campaign, you'll unlock counters, perfect dodges, and most importantly, stances. In Tsushima, you'll face soldiers with swords, shields, spears, and tank-like brutes who have huge health bars and big weapons that knock you off your feet. You can fight them in any stance, but you get perks for switching stances to match your opponent. In later fights, when you're facing 10 enemies at a time, you'll need to be changing stances between combos, switching targets to keep enemies back, and when you do it faultlessly, you'll feel like a samurai straight out of an Akira Kurosawa movie. However, there will be many times when you just can't get into that flow because there are too many enemies around. You can use ghost equipment to even out the odds. Your throwing knives, for instance, stagger the enemies they don't outright kill, making it easier to thin out the crowd. Your sticky bombs too are a great help. Tap R1 and you throw a lit bomb at an enemy. It'll stick to them, doing not only a load of damage to the individual, but knocking anyone nearby to the ground too. You can then execute anyone stumbling to get up, making quick work of a group of soldiers. This focus on mastering one type of combat does have a key drawback, however. The combat you face in the first hours is basically the same as what you'll see all the way through the campaign. On the one hand, you get better at fighting them and have more moments where you look like a slick samurai, and on the other, combat stops being surprising and battles become repetitive. It's not just the combat that becomes repetitive in Ghost of Tsushima. Quests too feel like they all come from a set of molds. Of course, with the Mongol invasion going on, most of the stories are going to be about getting revenge on the advancing armies or the people taking advantage of the confusion, but I had 2 side quests in a row where I was helping parents retrieve kidnapped children. It was an unfortunate coincidence that those were the side quests I played one after the other, highlighting the repetition, but even in the multi-part companion quests there were awkward repeats. The sense of deja vu takes you right out of the moment. There's a great variety to Tsushima's world. You'll travel between irrigated farmlands, gloomy swamps, snow-capped mountains, and cherry blossom-filmed monasteries, all which change the tone with the weather and time of day. The designers are using the quests as breadcrumbs to draw you into travelling to as many of the island's sites as they can, but it's a shame the quests aren't as polished as the island. The busy work of Tsushima isn't down to its quests though. For a samurai trying to drive out a Mongol invasion, you can spend a huge amount of time collecting things. There is armour to unlock, charms to collect, cosmetic headgear, masks, and sword scabbards to find. If you want a new saddle, you'll need to find samurai clan flags dotted around the island. There are spots to compose haikus in exchange for headbands, foxes to follow to shrines to unlock new charm slots, and bamboo challenges to gain more resolve points. Tsushima is busy with stuff to do, but it boils down to hundreds of items to find and activities to repeat, a tired trope of open world game design. That disconnect between your actions in the game and the story it tells is frustrating, particularly in the main campaign. At the heart of Ghost of Tsushima is a story about choice and sacrifice. Jin must choose to sacrifice his own honor to drive the Mongol invaders from Tsushima. He must choose to slip into camps in the dark and stab unaware soldiers in the back. Choose to use poison, bombs, and throwing knives in fights, choose to become a fear-inspiring figure instead of remaining an honorable samurai. That's fine, but it's frustrating that you as the player have no choice in this, and the game doesn't recognize how you choose to play at all. As you gain fame and experience completing missions and saving peasants from the Mongols, you unlock new Ghost equipment, such as smoke bombs and poison blow darts, but you don't have to use them to win fights. From game start to game end, in most instances you can rely on your katana and enter enemy camps through the front door, announcing your intentions and calling enemies to come to your face in a standoff. But even if you do this, the characters in the main cutscenes will still call you dishonourable, and they'll still tell you off for stepping away from the samurai code. There's nothing wrong with a linear story where you don't have branching narratives, but it's not fun to have characters repeatedly tell you off for things your character does in a cutscene. Why did the developers spend so much time and energy crafting these Ghost abilities to then make a story that actively criticizes you for using them? Ghost of Tsushima is a fine open world game. It ticks all the boxes of what you would expect it to do. Multiple biomes, a skill tree to unlock, hundreds of collectibles, crafting, a 20-hour campaign, and loads of side quests. But it doesn't do anything more than that. The story it tells in its campaign seems to be actively at odds with what you do in the game, and not in a way that develops to a point. Indeed, it reads almost like a mistake. This is one of the last exclusive games for the PlayStation 4, and it's disappointing that it has nothing new to say.